Okay, this meeting's being recorded is what I just heard. Thank you so much, Kathy Campbell, Jenny, and the programming committee for putting together such a wonderful program today with Martha. And throughout the whole year, we have relied on your expertise, both of you and the committee, to present really a really good, robust series of programs this year for Friends of Folk Art. And I just wanted to let you know how grateful FOFA is for the support of the programming committee and all the presenters. And we appreciate the audience who is attending the presentation today. So if you're a member of FOFA, we welcome you. And if you are new to understanding what Friends of Folk Art is about, please look us up and we welcome you as members. With that, I want to introduce Kristan, the director of the Museum of International Folk Art. Welcome, Kristan.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a great weekend. I just have a couple of quick updates for you. Of course, our museum is now open every day from 10 to 5. Please come down and see us. We're now open Mondays as well. The Museum Cafe is also open from Wednesday through Sunday. And a couple of exciting events that are upcoming at our museum. On the 30th, which is next Sunday, we have the opening of Mask. Actually, the exhibition is called #Mask, which is on display in our museum's Gallery of Conscience, and it highlights folk art that is in response to COVID-19 as well as other pandemics and epidemics. So there's an amazing plague doctor outfit from Venice that we had on view many, many years ago in an exhibition that was on Carnival. And there's also some fantastic masks from all over the world, from India, from Korean American artists, from African American artists, from the Northwest Coast Native artists, as well as some from Scandinavia. So please come on down and see us on next Sunday. There's no formal opening, but that's the first time you'll be able to see this new exhibition. There's also a great article about this show in today's Living in New Mexico in the Albuquerque Journal. And in June 27th, we'll be having an opening in our downstairs gallery, Lloyd's Treasure Chest, of an exhibition of glass. And it's an exhibition on glass drawn from all of our different curatorial areas. We have a lot of glass, and you may have had an opportunity to see the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture exhibition called Clearly Indigenous. That's about Native American glass. And opening on the 1st is also another show at the Botanical Garden that's about glass. So it wasn't really planned as such, but it's a terrific grouping of glass art if that's something that interests you. So with that, I hope the next time we meet, we can perhaps meet in person. And thanks again for all your support. And thanks to Martha and the committee who put this together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristan. I am Joanne Ward and served on the program committee getting this program ready for you. And I did want to let you know that there's a small change in the program. Nicolas Chavez, who was to join us, has taken a position in the state historian's office, and her new schedule prevents her from participating today. We do wish her all the best, but we'll miss her and her many contributions over the years to both MOIFA and to our group, Friends of Folk Art. That said, it remains my honor to introduce today's speaker, Martha J. Egan. Martha earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in Latin American history and served 2 years as a Peace Corps volunteer in Venezuela. Her Peace Corps experience steered Martha toward a nearly 5 decades long career as an importer and retailer through her store Pachamama, which operated for many years in Santa Fe and is now in Corrales. Along the way, artisans, collectors, historians, antiquarians, curators, and extensive reading taught her about Latin American folk art. As a side job, she writes articles and books on folk art and works of fiction. She lives in rural New Mexico with, I'm told, a stray peacock. I'm sure there's a story there. Martha's most recent book, Relicarios, The Forgotten Jewels of Latin America, is the subject of today's program. If you haven't purchased a copy of this luscious, informative book, I wanted to let you know that it is available in the Moifa gift shop, where FOFA members enjoy a 10% discount. And it's always good to shop local. So if you'd like to buy the book, do visit the gift shop. Now let's welcome our distinguished speaker, Martha Egan. Martha?
Thank you, Joanne. Is the video up? This is a video.
As soon as you're ready, I'll start it.
Oh, okay, I'm ready. Hello. On the shores of Lake Titicaca, at some 3,500 meters above sea level, the small city of Copacabana, Bolivia, continues to annually welcome thousands of pilgrims from the Andean region of South America and all parts of the world. Today, they come to render homage to Our Lady of Copacabana, a sacred image sculpted in wood by the native artist Tito Yupanqui around 1583. Dating from before the Inca era, this site was of great importance to the faithful who visited the sacred island of the sun and the island of the moon, which lie close to the port of Copacabana. Pilgrims left offerings to their gods of animal and human sacrifices, silver and gold, and other items they considered sacred, such as worked or unusual stones and seashells, mullo in Aymara, the principal language of the area. As pilgrims from afar customarily return home with souvenirs of their visit, for at least the past 200 years, Copacabana residents have specialized in providing them with special objects from the shrine. The purpose of the video that follows is to introduce a specific type of souvenir, Relicarios, reliquaries, with the image of the Virgin of Copacabana painted on mother of pearl, nácar, on one side, and the image of a popular saint on the reverse side. In Latin America, relicarios are framed lockets with images behind glass of the Virgin, Christ, or favorite saints on both sides, with a ring at the top for suspension from a chain or ribbon so that the relicario can be hung around the neck or on a wall. The images can be paintings, bas-reliefs, engravings, or drawings. These jewels are sometimes beautiful examples of miniature painting or diminutive sculpture in precious materials and silver or gold work of extraordinary quality. At times, they're simple displays of religious fervor made of inexpensive components. Although these devotional jewels are related to European jewelry that contain relics of the saints, in the Americas, the veneration of relics was never as popular as it continues to be in the Old World. The term reliquary is mostly symbolical and traditional. Beautiful relicarios in the Americas are possibly those from Copacabana, painted on mother of pearl with brushes of single hair by local artists. The custom of making these jewels is at least 200 years old. Nevertheless, they stopped making them about 30 years ago. The artists explained that painting on such a small scale cost them their eyesight. Young people did not want to learn the difficult, time-consuming techniques, and handmade relicarios were replaced by Chinese trinkets, cheap devotional jewelry made by the millions in China, prints of low quality and price. Today, Copacabana artisans continue the artistic traditions of their forebears, creating images in plaster or clay to sell to pilgrims. I am Martha Egan, independent researcher affiliated with the Museum of International Folk Art in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the southwestern USA. For the past 30 years, I have studied Latin American relicarios. I'm the author of Relicarios, Devotional Miniatures from the Americas, published by the Museum of New Mexico Press in 1994. This video is part of my preparation of a new edition of the book. The video presents my interviews with former Relicario makers and those acquainted with this nearly forgotten art form. We filmed in Copacabana in May 2012 with permission from those who appear in the video. The videographers are Rodrigo Rodriguez, Ivan Fuentes of La Paz, Bolivia, with the help of my assistant, Zoila Cleaver. El propósito de mi visita aquí a Copacabana es de juntar un poco más información sobre la elaboración de los relicarios que antes hacían aquí en este pueblo.
Importante, los hemos conocido y yo mismo no sé qué es lo que pasó con aquello que estuvo entre mis manos, algunos con un fondo de plata. Ajá. Pues no le presté mayormente mucho interés, pero es algo que sin llamar mucho la atención expresa también una dimensión del arte, sí, de que las personas, los imagineros realizan.
Siento mucho el fallecimiento de don Fermín. Él también me contó la historia de su familia en cuanto a los relicarios.
Desde sus abuelos.
¿De cómo se llamaban sus abuelos?
El que hacía relicarios se llamaba Nicolás Suxox, era el abuelo de mi esposo. Su papá hacía también relicarios, Daniel Suxo se llamaba. Sí. También.
Y entonces ellos aprendieron de los antepasados, ¿no?
Sí.
Ya. Pero usted y don Fermín sí hacía relicarios, pero hace tiempo.
Hace años. Él hacía relicarios.
Sí.
Pero ha dejado de hacerlos, porque la vista lo malogra.
Claro.
Menudo no ves.
¿Y él trabajaba con lupa o no?
Cuando joven sin lentes, después ya con lentes, solo se hacía.
Sí. ¿Y de dónde venía el nácar que él solía usar?
Su papá parece que compraba, no sé, sí, botones, sí, era lo que hacía. Era unos botones que compraba y los raspaba en la piedra para que salga el brillo, creo.
Ah, para sacarle brillo.
El brillo.
Sí. Siempre hacían relicarios en aquí, antes. Hacían más finitos también, ¿no? Las imágenes, todo ya. Con el tiempo ha cambiado.
Así con esta balsita hacían, así pequeñitos relicario.
Sí, él.
Con la balsita lo hacía.
Sí.
A un lado la Virgen hacía, a un lado San Antonio, ajá, Corazón de Jesús. Ajá. Así pues lo pintaba, solo claro, a pulso.
Valorable bastante. A pulso. Hacía reliquia también mi papá.
Sí.
Sí, reliquia hacía mi papá.
Nazario.
Alarcón.
Entonces, ¿usted aprendió a hacer relicarios también con él?
No aprendí, solamente aprendí en pequeñitos, en más pequeñitos, y sí, pues era como reliquia también, sí, grabar en las virgencitas y sí, con su paisajito, sí, de Copacabana, claro, todo, claro, y lindo salía, pero es mucha vista, hay, sí, que tener una lupa, claro, muy buena, sí. Sí. Y con eso ya no puede.
Pero si usted reconoce el trabajo de alguno de estos,
¿sí?
Digo, el artesano que ha hecho este trabajo, estaría muy bueno, ¿no?
El relicario, el Carlos Portillo Alarcón, es mi tío, ya falleció.
Y por ejemplo, ¿quién habrá hecho esta parte de plata?
La plata no podemos decir con la iglesia porque...
Mi padre, según eso, sigue trabajando también, su hijo había sido de Basilio Alarcón. Mi padre Juan Alarcón, somos 6 hermanos, un varón más 7. Imágenes hacemos, otros para Todos Santos también hacemos, para diciembre también niños hacemos.
Adoro mis verdes campos, mi gente que lucha siempre, mis montañas y mis lagos. Bolivia, yo a ti nunca podré olvidarte. Bolivia,
papá hacía, entonces yo viendo eso,
Sí.
¿cómo me puede enseñar mi padre así? Así le he aprendido. Mi mamá también estaba trabajando,
Claro.
sigue ahora. Pero ella ya tiene más de 90, ahorita
Wow.
vive todavía.
¿Y
Sí,
pinta aún?
Pinta.
¿Con lentes o no?
No, sin
así
lentes.
nomás.
Hace imágenes todavía, también para la gente, para que conozca,
Sí.
porque son muy raros los que artistas que han existido en este pueblo, ¿no? Al igual que Tito Yupanqui, hay algunos talentos que han habido, entonces esos talentos, esos detalles deben mostrarse.
Con eso pintaba, parece que tenía lente, he visto.
Ah, bueno.
Así de lejos pintaba.
¿De
Yo
lejos?
he visto,
Ah,
pequeña,
sí.
Sí. Trabajaba mi papá pincel, al lago iba.
Ajá.
Esas plumas de pajaritos, ¿no ves? Aves
Sí.
blancas.
Sí.
Eso, de gaviota, iba a buscar, entonces la puntita tenía. Ahora mismo nosotros estamos usando eso.
Qué bien.
En eso, su cuero del ratoncito, ¿no ve? Muy finita, del gatito, ¿no ve? Con eso hacía el pincel.
Wow.
Con cola se lo ponía, ay, para que no se suelte será. De axito lo cortamos con tijera, después cortando. Esto como está tapado, ¿no ve? Con agujitas, altas veces hay que limpiar.
Claro.
Altas veces. Cuando ya esté limpio, entonces el conejito, su pelito también. Así amarramos con hilo, después por aquí con agujita lo sacamos. Después al último con charro o si nos con palito lo colocamos a la medida, lo raspamos.
Sí.
Ahí
Y el nácar o madre perla, ¿sobre qué cosa?
Sí. Eso se pintaba una latita, un día una latita, ¿no ve? Finita esa latita.
Claro.
Para que no se, muchas veces resbala también la pintura.
Sí.
Eso tiene que ser bien delicado. Estos antes mucho buscábamos aquí.
Sí.
En el puesto mucho querían.
Sí.
Bien buscados eran esos silicarios. Pues.
Cada quien, de acuerdo a su creatividad,
Claro,
creaban
claro.
las cosas, ¿no? Los detalles.
Ya.
Entonces, le empezábamos a acuñar, tenemos cuñas para hacer. Los detalles lo poníamos, por ejemplo, hay detalles de florcitas,
Sí, sí.
perlitas, hay motivos ovados también, ¿no? Entonces se los trabajaba y posteriormente se le empezaba a hacer los detalles, los diseños de la Virgen, o ya sería el lago de Titicaca, la bahía y la Virgen encima.
Qué bonito.
Hay otros detalles, ¿no?
Sí.
¿Quiénes eran los relicarios?
¿Ah?
Los relicarios.
¿Qué nombres? ¿Usted se acuerda?
Daniel Suxo,
Es su papá de Fermín Suxo.
Félix y Llanes, se han muerto. Hijos, algunos que quieren trabajar, algunos no les gusta.
Algunos museos sí tienen relicarios.
Tías me contaban, ¿no? Yo tengo hartas tías aquí. Y me contaban de que como tenían, a veces los sacaban para vender.
Sí.
Por eso que se han agotado las piezas.
Oh, qué
no
lástima.
hay piezas que han quedado casi. O a veces han quedado desvalorizadas por las nuevas medallas que han estado industrializadas, ¿no?
Sí.
Entonces, incluso tenían mayor calidad, el acabado era más perfecto con la modernidad ya, ¿no? Entonces, ellos mismos lo han rechazado, a veces lo botaban, lo desechaban. Son técnicas, ¿no? Que no se pueden perder, también son artistas que existieron en el pasado y son piezas únicas también a futuro. Yo creo que también van a tomar mayor. Gracias por visitarnos.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias a ustedes por su tiempo,
gracias, señora.
por sus conocimientos.
Sí.
reliquios mi esposo había aprendido de sus tíos. Tenía 3 tíos y ellos, todos relicarios, siempre habían sabido hacer.
Sí, sí.
Y como era el ultimito, él ha aprendido.
Claro.
Y cuando nos hemos casado con esa profesión,
sí,
se ha venido a vivir ya en otra parte, ya vivíamos. Entonces trabajaba solito. Antes había que refregar conchas.
Claro.
Conchas, esas perlas, las conchas han traído de Estados Unidos. Bonito. Cuando estaba bien refregadito, cortaba con una cuchillita y entonces ya al tamaño que él quiere. Y son unos también, cuando había así grandes, habían que tapar los agujeros y ya pintar pues a pincel.
¿Y los pinceles que él usaba?
Él se hacía de un conejito ya, unos 10 pincel. Sí. Entonces con eso bien suavito lo pintaba.
¿Y sus pinturas de dónde vinieron?
También son pelicanas. Aquí nomás, aquí en la uñita se preparaba esto.
Sí.
La pintura.
Sí, cómo no.
De ahí nomás se alzaba y...
Entonces ponía él su pintura sobre la uña.
Sobre la uña.
Sí,
al día hacía unos 4 docenas, así. Toda clase de santos pintaba.
Ah, toda clase de santos.
Sí, no es que solo la Virgen, toda clase de santos.
¿Quién hizo el casquillado?
Él mismo.
¿Él mismo era platero?
Platero. Teníamos que comprar soles, es 9 décimos. Y eso lo estiraba a pulso. Y entonces con eso a la medida cortaba y entonces ya lo soldaba. Wow. Y también lo doblaba. Wow. Le ponía sus argollitas. Había un líquido.
Ah, ok.
Con ese líquido en el fuego sabía bañarlo.
Claro.
Y entonces ya blanquito salía. Ah. Y con la grata eso pasaba. Sí. Recién lo enchapaba a los relicarios que él trabajaba. Así que de la casa salía todo completo. No teníamos que dar a otra persona.
¿Y para el vidrio qué se usaba?
Esos pocos son ya quemados. Ajá. Esos comprábamos por 100. Los pocos se recoge pues de La Paz, así de las casas, se recoge.
¿Y luego para cortar el vidrio?
Con la mano, con piedrita. Con eso lo cortaba, lo redondeaba. Claro. Y entonces eso había que parear.
Claro.
Para que no sean desiguales.
Qué bien.
Así, entonces recién se termina. Tener mis hijos también, ellos, pero no han aprendido nada.
¿Y cuáles eran los temas más importantes para su esposo?
Era grabar en relojes, grabar así en medallas.
Sí.
Con eso hemos vivido.
Y entonces, ¿quiénes eran los clientes de ustedes? ¿Quiénes venían a comprar?
Había una señorita, bueno,
ajá,
aquí en el kiosco, en la esquinita.
Sí.
Ella es la que agarraba más alto.
Okay.
Agarraba 10 gruesas, 15 gruesas, así. Más también sabíamos llevar a La Paz a las citas. También vendíamos ahí.
Sí.
Por eso es que yo tengo mi jatito aquí.
Claro.
Ahí yo vendía.
Ajá,
así por junto o por raleo.
Claro.
Sí.
Claro.
Con eso hemos vivido. Sí, nos conque también.
¿Y más o menos de qué porte eran?
Eran de 3 tamaños. Uno tamaño de un lente, el otro mediano, el otro más chiquitito.
¿Como el tamaño de una uña? ¿Sí?
Como un piojito se manejaba.
Ajá.
Qué vista, ¿no? Esa mano tenía que ser bien delicada.
Claro.
Alzaba cosas pesadas y ya embrutecía.
Sí, cómo no.
Y así que tenía que estar bien suavita su mano para grabar.
Claro. ¿Y usted me puede decir los nombres de algunos de los maestros?
Sí, porque había un caballerito, se llamaba Pomacosi. Ese es el que trabajaba también. Agustín también se llamaba, uno medio copito también trabajaba. Después había Ángel Llanos, también trabajaba.
Ah, de su familia, de su esposo.
Sí, trabajaba. Después había unos suxos.
¿Y usted ha llegado a conocer a Juan Gutiérrez, posiblemente?
¿A Juan Gutiérrez, sí?
Sí, porque me han dicho que él pintó esta en el 1907.
Sí, haya sido porque el Juan, cuando mi esposo comenzó a pintar, ya no lo ha dejado, ya no podía.
¿Y los relojes? ¿Cómo llegaron a eso?
Los relojes se abren, pues el vidrio se saca.
Sí.
Y entonces ahí en la esfera se pinta.
Sí.
Todo bien completo.
Claro.
Como es tan chiquitito,
sí.
Pero le hace alcanzar su laguito, su escudo y la Virgen. Se lo ha pintado para sus 13 hijos, como era el obando presidente. Le invitó al hotel, ahí le han felicitado también.
¡Qué bien, qué bien! Entonces usted sí tiene recuerdos muy bonitos.
Sí.
Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo y por compartir sus conocimientos con nosotros.
Martha, if you want to unmute yourself, I'll start your presentation.
I think we did.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's not exactly a candidate for an Oscar, but I think it was very important to record the people who made the Relicarios. And I have to say, in the last 10 or 15 years, some of the people who were in the video are no longer with us, but I think their information is very important. So do we now go into the PowerPoint? Okay. Okay. This is a PowerPoint that has 20 different examples of Relicarios. And how do I do this? Next. Yeah. Relicario bust. Since early Christian times, the faithful collected relics of the saints and preserved them in a variety of ways. Initially, Christians dipped bits of cotton in the oil burning in front of the martyrs' tombs. By the medieval era in Europe, reliquaries had become a prized art form. This particular one is likely to be of polychromed wood from Belgium, made circa 1530. Next. By the 15th century, Christians, especially Catholics in Spain, Portugal, Italy, and France, wore relics of the saints in special two-sided pendants. Some of them simple prints and tin frames, others magnificent paintings or carvings in bejeweled gold pendants. Relicarios, the Spanish word for reliquaries, were signs of devotion that also served as powerful amulets to protect the wearer in a precarious world. The custom accompanied conquerors to the Americas in the 16th century. Next. Hernán Cortés himself, the conqueror of New Spain in the 1520s, wore devotional pendants. Noting the skill of native craftsmen, he asked their leader, Moctezuma, to commission his artisans to craft Spanish-style devotional objects, including relicarios. Quote, and they did it as perfectly as we could explain these things to them, reported Cortés to King Charles V. Next. This is a detail of that relicario. You can't exactly see what the image is, but there it is, Cortés wearing one. Next. This relicario is probably 17th to 18th century from Puebla. Although Europe exported many tons of saints' bones and other relics to the Americas, only the early relicarios made for elites contained relics. Those made for ordinary people contained prints, paintings, miniature sculptures, but they did not have relics. The term relicarios eventually became symbolic. Next. Amantecas, traditional featherwork artisans in New Spain, employed their ancient art form in crafting relicarios for Christians. Next. In about 1530, Flemish Franciscans, under the leadership of Peter of Ghent, founded in present-day Mexico City, the school of San Jose de los Naturales, near Tenochtitlan, the capital of New Spain. Among other crafts, they taught Flemish-style boxwood wood carving. Native artisans added featherwork backgrounds to these Greek temple-style relicarios, some of them smaller than 5 centimeters, sometimes with additional decoration of gold enameling and pearls. That art form disappeared very quickly and for many, many years was not known to be actually Mexican. Next is the Flemish Franciscans. Oh, sorry. Many settlers in the New World, especially in New Spain, were Jews escaping the Inquisition in Spain. This particular relicario may be an example of Christian Kabbalah, secretly practiced in colonial Mexico, often by Jewish Jesuits. The face of the relicario is the molded image in colored wax of the Virgin holding the Christ child. The reverse of the pendant, because these are always two-sided, excuse me, formerly held a religious painting, which was discarded by the owner. Its removal, interestingly enough, revealed a card within that had writing and symbols reflective of Jewish mysticism as well as Jesuit symbols. Such an ornament might have served to publicly demonstrate the wearer's loyalty to Catholicism, but always maybe a little bit of Kabbalah there. Judges of the Inquisition, many of whom were Dominican friars, sometimes wore special relicarios as badges of their office. The custom of relicarios became widespread throughout the Americas. Many, like these particular ones from Potosí, Bolivia, were paintings of religious subjects on copper, silver, shell, and vellum. Rattle, rattle. I got it. Andean artisans sometimes painted relicario imagery on leather. This is pretty rare, but it did happen sometimes. They often painted the leather ceilings of their churches. Interestingly enough, although this relicario is from Alto Peru, which is to say present-day Peru, Bolivia, The Guadalupe depicted is the Mexican Virgin of Guadalupe, not the South American Guadalupe, which is another story for another time. There are at least 2 or 3 different Guadalupes. The Manila galleons were sailing to the Americas by the mid-1500s, eager to exchange such luxury goods as carved or raw ivory and silks for silver from the rich mines of New Spain and Alto Peru. Silver at that time was quite rare and very desirable for many uses in Southern Asia. Some Christian images arrived already carved, primarily by Chinese or Philippine artisans who were usually known as sanglayes. Others were carved locally in the Americas. Next. As the galleon trade diminished by the late 1700s, ivory became scarce in the Americas. In Colombia and Ecuador, artisans began to carve relicarios in tagua, a 5 to 8 centimeter long palm nut known as vegetal ivory, native to the tropical lowlands of northern South America. It has a brown outer layer, but inside it's a beautiful creamy white. And when hardened and polychromed, it's difficult to distinguish a tagua carving from the actual ivory. Next. Another popular material for carving relicario imagery in the Andes was piedra huamanga, a white alabaster native to the highlands of Peru. For centuries, artisans used this material for carvings, especially small amulets, ilias, and idols. Colonial artisans might also polychrome and gild their Christian carvings. In the treeless Peruvian highlands, 17th and 18th century artisans molded 2-sided bas-relief relicarios in pasta, a homemade mixture of potatoes, gesso, and other materials that they polychromed and gilded and placed in flat-topped circular silver boxes resembling the piques, which is a container for the consecrated host. The mixture is traditionally used for decorating buildings and making imagery. In colonial New Spain, present-day Mexico, a similar pasta mixture made of corn pith was similarly used for crafting lightweight statuary and relicarios. These are 2 other examples, Santa Rosa de Lima and the Virgin of Copacabana, I believe. Next. Perhaps the most spectacular miniature painting for relicarios was done in 19th century Copacabana, Bolivia. We just saw the video with contemporary relicario makers. These were made in Copacabana, but probably mid to late 19th century. The artisans made their own brushes, as they explained in the video, using fine hair such as a horse's eyelash or cactus spines to paint images of the Copacabana and other favorite virgins and saints on nacre shell. The site of Copacabana was an important pilgrimage site prior to the conquest, where the natives honored Cotacawana, a female deity, as well as their ancestors. Next, there we are. Okay. Beginning in the late 1700s, the movement toward independence from Spain and widespread resentment of the Catholic Church's astonishing wealth and abuse of natives, devotional ornaments such as relicarios lost popularity, except in the rural Andes, and I must say rural Mexico as well, where natives remained faithful to the Virgin and certain saints. The relicarios of the second half of the 19th century, as this one is, while depicting a favorite virgin, the Virgin of the Rosary, often show soldiers and national flags, as well as other patriotic symbols. and reflecting the conflicting loyalties and warfare between the emerging Andean states. Next. Long after mestizos and the ruling class stopped wearing religious ornaments in public, natives in both Mesoamerica and South America continued to incorporate them into their traditional dress into the mid-20th century or longer. This coral necklace from northern Ecuador shows the wearer's loyalty to the Virgin of the Immaculate Conception, La Inmaculada. In the 20th century, tourists became enamored of traditional native crosses, necklaces, shawl pins, and relicarios to the extent that these ornaments are now quite rare and museum pieces. I hope you have enjoyed the presentation, and let's see what questions people may have. John Luttrell, are you there?
Are these related to scapulars that we used to have to wear in Catholic school?
You know, the scapulars are very, very similar, and they had a similar purpose because they were to show your religious affiliation, and they were two-sided, although you wore one on the front and one on the back, and they were connected with a ribbon. Similar idea. They were to protect, especially to protect children.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Other questions?
I have a question. Martha, why are they two-sided?
I'm not sure. I mean, you know, if you're going to honor one saint, why not honor two? The Virgin was the most popular image, but then people also had a favorite saint like Saint Agnes or Santa Lucia, Saint Lucy, or another one, and they wanted to incorporate the two, but I'm not really sure. But the scapulars also, you know, were two-sided, only in a different way. One on the front, one worn on the front, and one worn on the back.
Okay. Martha, I bought this reliquary from you many years ago at Guatemala, and it's got, this is the Virgin of Soledad, I believe.
I believe so, yes.
And on the flip side, it looks like I know there's a horrible bounce, the Madre de la Rosa, but you know what, when I bought this, I never knew where it was from. Is it Mexican?
Yes, it's from New Spain. Okay. You can tell by the type of the frame. Okay. And that frame, I can't remember it terribly well, but it's silver, and it may have gold, or maybe that's brass. I can't see it well enough.
Yeah, I mean, I can always photograph it and send it to you via email. What do you think the age is on that one? Do you have any idea?
I would say, you know, looking at the style of the frame, 19th, mid to 19th, late 19th century.
Okay.
That's a wild guess, because many of these, you know, a silversmith would have a mold and they would use it for generations. So the style tells you something, but it doesn't tell you the whole story in all cases.
Yeah, I always thought it was Mexican because those are not really saints from Bolivia. I mean, the Madre de la Rosa and the Virgin of Soledad are definitely Mexican virgin.
Yes, they are.
That's why I thought it was Mexican. But when I bought it, there wasn't any, I don't think there was any information on the tag. So all these years, I really never knew where it was from, but I thought it was Mexican, but I figured this was the perfect opportunity to ask you, you know, where it was from.
Well, I hope that's helpful.
No, it is. It is. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Martha?
Yeah.
Are these relicarios as collected and valued in Latin America as they are here? Are they known? Are they well known?
Not really. It's one of those things that because, you know, Catholicism was associated with the Spanish crown, and people in the movement for independence were rejecting certain aspects of Spanish culture. The religious ornaments, people who were very, very religious kept them, but they put them into drawers and they weren't seen. And sometimes they were stolen or they were melted down for their silver content. So people forgot about them. Although, you know, when I've traveled around and talked to people about them, or I'm wearing one, they always say, "Oh, my grandmother had one of those." But a lot of them have disappeared the way other things have disappeared. And some of it was because of the value, relatively small value actually, of the silver and sometimes gold in the frames. Oh, I'm wearing one. This is one, I found it in southern Mexico, near Oaxaca, but it's absolutely Guatemalan because of the quetzal birds on each side of the silver frame. And I'm guessing that the image here is of Pedro de Betancourt, who was the founder of the Bethlehemite order in 1650. And he has, in the last few years, been declared a saint. He was born in the Canary Islands and went to the Americas, as many people did, and seeing that there was a lack of hospital care for people, he founded an order, and they went on to found about 22 hospitals throughout Latin America, Cuba to Argentina, all over the place. And but the quetzal bird is absolutely Guatemalan. So I'm thinking that this could be an image of him. He was very rarely painted, and he didn't live a long life. And the coral and silver that it's on, that was put together, I'm sure, by some friends of mine in Oaxaca, using very traditional Oaxaca silver beads and dijes, little things like combs and roosters and other things. Very typical of what's known as a rosario necklace, a rosary necklace. It's not really like a Catholic rosary, but it derives from that tradition. Is that helpful?
Yes. And are you still carrying them in your shop in Corrales?
Yes, we have. Pardon me?
Do you still get them from time to time?
Yes, and I can get some of the ones from Copacabana directly from one of the artisan families. They're still beautifully painted. Some are only on one side, but some are the size of, a thumbnail and painted on two sides. I also have a small number of antique ones of different subjects.
Thank you.
So
I have a question. It's Charlene.
Hi, Charlene. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry, I was gardening, so I'm not on video. You mentioned something interesting that I wondered if there was a relationship, because you said the carving of Huamanga stone, and then also the pasto, that is made of potato, are the same materials that have been used traditionally in the making of Peruvian retablos.
Oh,
Did
sure.
you see a relationship between those two traditions?
Absolutely. I mean, the nature of folk art is that people will make art with whatever is handy. And in the highland areas, they didn't have wood, but they did have stone. And traditionally, they would make objects, sacred objects especially, in the local alabaster, piedra huamanga. And in the retablos, the Peruvian style retablos, they made them sometimes, if they could get wood, they would carve them in wood, or they would get a piece of board, typically from the boxes that candles and whiskey came in were wooden, and people often used those to make the retablo box, and they would decorate the box with either paint or sometimes adding another layer of the pasta, the potato mixture, and that they could then gild sometimes and paint. So yeah, there's a relationship, but you know more than anybody that the nature of folk art is you use what you've got.
Thank you so much for sharing the field footage. That was really, not only, of course, your knowledge too, but seeing the field footage was really a special treat. Thank you.
Oh, I'm happy you like it. I mean, the quality of the film is not, you know, we're not going for an Oscar here, but I felt we had no script. We had no idea what we were doing, but we had a wonderful time. And the two Bolivian videographers were great. And we just did it. We didn't know what we were doing, but literally. But, you know, it worked out. And I think it was a worthwhile effort. And I think the people appreciated it. And I'm, you know, so sorry that some of them are now gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Martha, we have a question from Sochi, and then from...
Okay. Hi, Martha. Hello.
Hi.
This is Sochi. I work for Kristan. I'm his assistant at the museum.
Yes.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful presentation. I have a question. What is your, what can you tell about the relationship with the popular Milagros here in Santa Fe? I'm curious about it because it's pretty similar, and that's one of the first things I noticed when I moved to New Mexico, the tiny Milagros. And also, what do you have to say about las medallas? You know, they're very traditional with Catholic Latino people. I don't see people wearing them that much here in New Mexico, but they are very similar. I'm not sure if that's coming from the same history, that they're engraved back and forth, and you also can wear them like the escapularios on both sides in some parts of Jalisco, where I am from. Those are questions. Thank you.
The medallas are generally, but not always, two-sided. And I think they serve the same function as a relicario. They're, of course, mass-produced and not as expensive, even way back when. But they would be for showing religious devotion, like to a particular virgin or Saint Lucy or whomever. And they were also considered amulets. And you might not see too many people wearing them, but people have them inside their shirts. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, and the Milagros. Milagros are a favorite of mine because that was my first book was about Milagros. And it came out in '91 and it's still out there. They derive from the Mediterranean version of votive offerings. So when you have a horse and the horse is pregnant and you're hoping that the horse is going to have a healthy colt, you pray to your favorite saint, maybe it's San Isidro, Saint Isidore. You hang a milagro of a horse or a colt on the statue, and that reminds him of your request. Or when you have when a healthy colt is born, you thank the saint by giving him the gift of a silver milagro. Milagro meaning miracle. And that custom goes way, way back into pre-Christian times in the Mediterranean era. I had a lot of fun putting together a collection of, I don't know, 230 or 250 different milagros from all over Latin America. And because they've disappeared in the markets in Latin America, especially the older ones, we reproduced them here, and Pachamama has we sell them pretty well. We try to keep the price down. We have them in sterling silver made here in New Mexico, and we also have them for half that price in yellow bronze. Hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Judy, do you want to ask your question next?
Yes, thank you. It was a wonderful presentation, very exciting to watch. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a good friend of Zoila's, so it is especially meaningful for me.
Yes.
Is there any indication that early on in New Mexico history, these were made here? I have heard that crypto Jews would sometimes have a Catholic scene on the front, and then as you showed in one of the slides on the back, something that would represent the Jewish faith. Were they made here at all?
You know, it's very hard to tell. I am sure that there were relicarios made here of some quality. Most, and there was a silversmith, I think, on the plaza in Santa Fe who made them probably in the late 19th century. Most of the relicarios that you find here in New Mexico, and they're very, very rare, came up on the Santa Fe Trail. But then local people, you know, really wanted to have their own. They might not have been able to afford an imported one. There was an artisan in Peña Blanca, and he made little tiny ones, and they were either I'm sure long ago they were hand painted image of the saints, either on one or two sides, and they were framed in tin and then with a little loop at the top. And once in a while, you'll still see those. And I still see them somewhat in Mexico. So people had their own ways of having something that was very, very important to them in an ancient way. Hope that's helpful. Yeah, you're welcome.
I just have one other question. I'm interested in what you said about men wearing them. And I looked in the book and saw that there were indeed men who were wearing them.
In Spain, especially, and I think soldiers and people who are making that tremendously dangerous voyage to the unknown lands of, you know, the Americas or Asia, really wanted to have a lot of protection. And they had very few personal possessions that they could take on those leaky old ships. But, you know, anything that they felt was going to protect them was especially valuable, and they wore them. Priests then in the Americas during the colonial era, you know, they may still have worn them, or probably not so much. Clerics did wear them. You look carefully on in paintings, and one of my favorite ones is in my book is a painting of I think he's 17th century Inca royalty. And he's wearing this wonderful combination of very fancy Spanish style dress with lace and velvet and all of this. And he's wearing a relicario. He's wearing a relicario. I asked a wonderful Peruvian art historian about that, and he had written a whole paper about who this man was, Chihuahua, and who he was, and where he had studied and all of that. And he was flabbergasted. He said, I never noticed it. You know, he was noticing the lace and the gilding and all of the other stuff in this man's outfit, but he didn't. But he could tell me that man had studied, not in Cusco per se, but down in the valley, close to Cusco, the Urubamba Valley, and he had studied with the School of the Immaculate Conception. And that's why he wore that particular relicario. So it was fun. It was a fun exchange. Yeah.
Kathy, did you have a question?
I was just going back to, didn't you say in your earlier that they would cut light bulbs to use for the covers? And I can't imagine how you cut a light bulb. I'm just curious about that.
Well, this was a great story. Once a month, this is a version of a story that I heard bits of around Copacabana. 3 guys would take the bus to La Paz from Copacabana, and it's about a 3-hour bus trip. And they would go to an office or a business that changed out light bulbs in office buildings. And they would buy up, I'm sure for not very much money, the burned out light bulbs. And then I said, well, okay. And then they would come back, they would buy like 100 at a time or something. And they told me that there was a man in Copacabana who had a piedrita. He had a little stone. And I said, do you mean a diamond? And they said, yes. And he loaned it to people and they could, you know, cut out the size that they needed. I mean, I just love stuff like that. You make do with what you can get and how you can figure out how to use it. And that was fun. Anybody else?
Well, thank you so much, Martha, for the presentation and the video and everything. I think everyone really enjoyed it. We recorded it as you were warned by Zoom. And so we'll send that out, and we'll send out information about where to get Martha's book and information about her store down in Corrales, in addition to anything that you need to know about the Museum Foundation and the Friends of Folk Art membership. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Sochi, did you have another thing you wanted to add or ask? I saw you raise your hand.
No, I just was doing my clapping with their.
Oh.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you, Martha, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ginger, and thank you for everybody for doing this and for your patience with all the technical stuff. We'll get this together one of these days, but thank you, Ginger, especially.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.